Hey there traders, welcome to another market update video. Today is the 16th of March 2021 and I thought I'd change it up a little bit. I changed the color of my chart to black. Um, this is something I do every now and then just to have a little bit of change of scenery, but I'll post a poll in the Telegram group today and you get to vote. Do you like the white charts more or do you like the black charts more? If you enjoy the white charts more, I'll change it back for you guys if it makes things more clear and it's easier to read for you. Otherwise, I'll stick to this for a couple of weeks and probably change back again. Okay, with that being said, let's jump straight into it. We're going to start off here with Bitcoin on the daily chart. There's a couple of things to discuss here. First of all, currently we are testing around the 21 exponential moving average on the daily chart. I would expect a short-term pullback from this, a short-term bounce at the very least, back up to the 10 simple around $56,000. Usually we won't just break through the 21 exponential on the first pass. You can see right here we had a decent bounce after testing it there, and then it took 3 tries before we could break below it. And then it also took two tries before we could break above the 21. So you can go and look throughout the history of Bitcoin. Usually the 21 is picked up with the first pass and then broken after a couple of tries. So I do think this will get continuation to the upside here, at least short term. Medium term, longer term, I will remain bullish on Bitcoin as long as we close daily candles above this previous little swing low right here, this liquidity zone. As long as Bitcoin closes daily candles above $44,865, I will remain medium term bullish on this. Doesn't mean we can't see short term pullbacks, doesn't mean we can't see prices coming all the way back down to $40,000 even with a spike and then still closing above that. That's more than possible. So let's jump into this lower time frames here. Let's chat about, oh, hang on, there's one more thing I do want to discuss on the daily before we jump into the 4-hour. Daily stocks starting to cross to the downside. Usually this is not a doom and gloom signal in and of itself, but it does show us that the momentum is currently to the downside. As we can see on price action, we also see that the RSI has been rejected out of the bullish control zone, which is usually also not the best sign, coming in with 3 drives of bearish divergence here. First drive happened right around there. That was the first drive of bearish divergence. Excuse me, that was the first drive of bearish divergence. And now a third time being rejected out of this bullish control zone, in my opinion, is not going to be a very clean and healthy signal for Bitcoin. In the medium term, it does kind of point towards a deeper pullback here. Not saying it's going to be the dump of the century, but it kind of does look like that. So let's talk about the 4-hour chart here so that we can get into the swing of things. I do want to say this. As long as Bitcoin closes 4-hour candles below this liquidity zone right here, which was our previous all-time high around $58,000, as long as Bitcoin closes 4-hour candles below that liquid zone, I will remain short-term bearish. And we can see right here it did act as resistance after breaking below it. So if we do see prices come back up to around this level, am I going to be interested in a short position? Definitely. I do want to say this as well though. If Bitcoin does make its way back down to around $52,180, somewhere around here, you can see it's lining up with the 200 simple moving average. I do expect another short-term bounce that could easily push the prices back up to 55,000. So basically expecting further continuation to the downside shorter term, perhaps very short term, a bounce back up, look for short opportunities, and then continuation to the downside. But I'm not really interested in trading Bitcoin. I'm more interested in those 3 other coins that we have limit orders on. So we'll jump into those. 4-hour Stokes pointing south here. Definitely a lot of momentum to the downside still. Not even running out of momentum just yet, maybe a little bit. So we'll see how this 4-hour candle closes. Are we going to be rejected out of the bearish control zone and see a short-term bounce? I do think so. Usually with the first pass coming towards the bearish control zone, we usually do see quite a bounce happening. You can see throughout the history of Bitcoin, usually the first pass is rejected. So let's see. It could pull it in even deeper into bearish control zone here. If that's the case, then I'm definitely remaining bearish on Bitcoin a little bit longer than just short term, perhaps even medium term. But let's keep an eye on this one. I do like this area for a short opportunity. And I do like this area for a short opportunity. I do believe if we break below $51,000 per Bitcoin, we could easily make our way back down to 43K. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Let's jump back to the daily, switch off those drawing tools. Let's chat about Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash, kind of, I don't really like this market structure. It's not the easiest chart to read, but I do expect a short-term bounce here of the 55 exponential at the very least to come and test the 21 exponential. This is where we want to get filled on our short position, if you remember correctly. That's right around there that we want to get filled. So we have a limit order there. I do expect a short-term bounce here for Bitcoin Cash based on that. So let's jump into, hang on, let's just talk about momentum oscillators. Bitcoin Cash, not really crossing to the downside just yet. So usually when this happens, usually when we see price action moving up and then start dumping with low amounts of volume like this, we do see a short-term bounce, but I do think that will be sold into. We did reject the bearish, the bearish control zone here on the first pass on the daily chart. The 4-hour chart is going to be completely different, so let's go and have a look at that. So coming back to the 4-hour chart, you can see the cluster of all the major moving averages right around there. It's huge. That's the level, that's the pivot point that I would like to short. I do believe that we will at least see another pushback down short term after testing back up here around these moving averages. Also seeing that volume increased after the sellers started coming into the market here. You can see the very first increase right on this candle, and then the next volume spike was on this candle. So always remember this saying: volume precedes price action. Meaning, if you see a spike in volume, you can usually expect price to continue in that direction. So we saw a spike in volume after the sellers came into the market. Usually we can expect a continuation. So any kind of pullback here with lower volume would suggest that there are no buyers participating, and then I'd be looking to go short still. So we do have our pending order around $542.96. To the same token, if Bitcoin Cash does break below my liquidity zone right over here, I do expect another move back down, perhaps even an extension back down to 435 spot 55. So we could see some extensions here. I do think we'll see a short-term bounce. Like I said, this is the 55 exponential on the daily. It's to be expected to see a bounce there. Let's just talk about the 12-hour real quick. Yep, lining up with the 100 exponential. Again, this area right here is my area of interest. That's the area of value. That's the area that we want to get involved in trades. So we're going to be patient, wait for this one to play out, get filled, and see how we do. Next one we've got on the list is going to be Ethereum. So Ethereum also short-term bounce today. We can see right here, usually the first pass on the 21 exponential is not the most powerful dump, right? We usually get picked up quite quickly. So I'm very curious to see. This was the first pass yesterday, got picked up. Didn't quite fill us though. We didn't quite get to where we wanted to get filled on our short position. But let's see, today might be the day. Let's jump down to the lower term time frames. But before we do that, let's chat about the momentum oscillators. Daily Stokes looking like they're losing momentum here, starting to go back down around the bullish control zone. Does that mean that we're going to dump to to the bottom of the ocean? No, not necessarily. You know, we did reject out of the bearish control zone here, had a lovely bounce. I do want to say this is quite a bearish signature on the RSI, making lower lows, lower highs. So I would expect continuation to the downside, at least shorter term, perhaps back down to the 55 exponential around 1597.72. So definitely keeping an eye on that one. So let's quickly look at the 4-hour chart. This is the area we want to get filled on our short position. This was our previous level of structure. It held support, but not really. It couldn't really rally from there. And then we saw that volume coming through. Again, look at that volume, telling us that this is now taken, this liquidity zone is now being taken over by the sellers. There's way more sellers around this liquidity zone than buyers. Very, very obvious. Look at the buying volume versus the selling volume. So we definitely want to get short on Ethereum around this level. Also lines up with the 10 simple on the daily chart, etc., etc. It does look like our momentum oscillators are still pointing south here on the 4-hour chart. So, you know, do we see further continuation today, or do we see a short-term bounce? I do think we'll see a short-term bounce, perhaps a rejection from the bearish control zone on the 4-hour chart. Stokes cross back to the upside. We could expect another move back up to 1833.9. And that's where I would like to go short, 1829.13, excuse me. That's where I would like to go short on Ethereum. Next one we've got in line here is going to be Chainlink. So Chainlink, same thing, bouncing off the 55 exponential here, expecting another move back up to at least the 21 exponential. Stochastics already turned down on Chainlink actually after yesterday. So this is really looking interesting to me. I think this is definitely way more bearish than the other altcoins. We haven't even tested the bearish control zone. I would expect that to happen today. So if we can get filled on our short position for Chainlink before it pushes back down, that would be the best part. That would be fantastic. So let's quickly look at the shorter term time frames here and switch on our drawing tools. We can see we're currently testing this previous liquidity zone right here. Could we see that short-term bounce? This is the 55 on the daily chart, so I would say yes. And do we get sold back into as soon as we do see that bounce? I would say yes. Lower lows, lower highs on the 4-hour chart, below all major moving averages. This is looking really bearish. Seeing the volume coming through from the seller side again. So any kind of pullback, I want to short. On all these cryptos this morning, I am short-term bearish. We could see very short-term bounces today, but those bounces I'm expecting to be sold straight back into. Okay, so that's it for Chainlink. Definitely still bearish on that one. Let's jump back to the daily chart here and let's chat about Litecoin. So the thing about Litecoin here is that we have not actually closed below the 21 exponential moving average just yet. We did come and test it yesterday as support, but we're now breaking below the 21 exponential, which could possibly give us a short opportunity throughout the day. We see stochastics losing momentum around the edge of the bullish control zone. That's pretty good. We did see a rejection from the bearish control zone way back here. When was that? That was in January, end of January, after this consolidation period here, making another lower high here. This has now been confirmed as a local top. So that's not a very good thing in and of itself for Litecoin here. Another lower high. You know, are we going to now see a lower low before we continue to the upside? It's possible. I would expect this one to move at the very least back down to 180. This previous level of structure right here, you can see this previous resistance and support. So this is going to be a lovely zone. Once I put it in, you can see the zones right there. Let's jump down to the lower term time frames and let's see what we can see for Litecoin. So I would expect a short-term bounce here, just like most of the cryptos, but I would expect it to be sold straight back into. And if we do see an opportunity today to take any short positions, definitely going to take them. Stokes on the 4-hour chart, getting into that critical zone, but nothing really to be stressed about. Like I said, short-term bounces could happen. Getting its way, making its way into that bearish control zone, which is in and of itself not a dooming signal, but it does give us a little bit of a bias and gives us a little bit of an understanding of where this market would like to go. The sellers are clearly in control of this crypto market at the moment, not the buyers, not the way that people would like you to think, at least, very least in the short term. Medium term, longer term, definitely the bulls are king, right? Okay, so that is Litecoin. I would expect to move back up to 201 spot 86 or a break below 188 spot 69. I would take a short, any kind of pullback back to 201. I would look for an opportunity to maybe go short there as well. Any kind of break above 207 spot 90 would be a long opportunity for me. My buyers would then flip completely, right? Because we'll be breaking above structures again. Would I be longing from here? Perhaps we'll have to reassess when we get there. Let's go back to the daily chart, and the next one is going to be Uniswap. So Uniswap also currently on the 21 exponential. Could we see a short-term bounce here? I do believe so. This was our previous level of structure on the daily chart. I do think we'll see a short-term bounce at the very least on our first pass on the 21 exponential here. Daily Stokes crossing to the downside, pointing south. Not a doom and gloom signal in and of itself once again, but it is giving us a little bit of a direction of where the momentum wants to go. As price continued higher here, we saw a decline in volume, and we have now been rejected out of the bullish control zone. So I would expect at the very least a move back down to $23.10. So let's jump to the lower term time frames and let's reassess this bad boy. Oh wow, yeah, I would actually like to take a short position around 29 spot 35. If we can get filled around there, even if I could get around 30 spot 61, I would take it, but I don't want to take this short position just yet. I would be patient, wait for it to test this lower level first, bounce off these two moving averages down here, and then look to go short. That's going to be meeting my entry criteria fairly soon, but again, reaching that critical zone, do expect a short-term bounce today, but making its way into that bearish control zone on the lower term time frame. So definitely bears are in control of these shorter term time frames, and we do need to keep that in mind because we do trade shorter term time frames on this channel, right? So Neo, let's talk about Neo. Neo closing below the 21 exponential. It's the first one of some, well, no, it's not the first one, but it's one of the few altcoins that have done that already. So I would expect at least a move back down to $35. This previous level of structure, this previous swing low right there. Switch on my drawing tools, you can actually see it. So definitely keeping an eye on a further down move here. Stokes not really giving us much. Did reject from the bearish control zone, which is quite interesting. So could we see perhaps, don't really have a strong opinion on this one. From a market structure point of view, I do think we'll see at the very least a shorter term pullback down to $35. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. Yeah, if we can break below this 200 exponential moving average, I'd definitely go short around this area. If we can break this area, I'd take a short as well. Any kind of break above 39 spot 90, I would definitely look at potentially going long again. But this one's looking a little bit more short-term bearish to me. I don't think this one's going to bounce short-term. No, not yet. I think this one's going to make its way deeper into the critical zone. Also, the bearish control zone has now been confirmed. So definitely the sellers are in control of this market at the moment. I do think it will be scooped up around $36.24 around the first pass, but we'll have to be patient and see. I don't really want to take a position on this one. I don't have a strong opinion on it. So I'm going to continue to the next one. So Neo is going to just remain on the sidelines for now. let's talk about Monero. Monero closed, well, didn't close below the 21 exponential, but definitely moving below it right now. I do think we're probably going to make a short-term move back down to 201 spot 42. Let's go and look at the momentum oscillators. Losing momentum around that edge of that bullish control zone here for the stochastics, excuse me. So I do think Monero is going to make another push to the downside. Do we see a test of the bearish control zone before we see the next bounce? That's probable. Let's just quickly look at the 4-hour chart here. 4-hour chart. Let's get our drawing tools in here. We're currently testing this level of support right here. Did we close on new lows yesterday on the 4-hour chart? It does look like a 216.39. Yep, we definitely did. So we're making new lows on volume. So I would expect a further continuation to the downside, like I said. Do we see a short-term pullback? Yes, I do think we'll probably see a short-term bounce that will get sold straight back into. So any kind of pullback for Monero back up into this area right here, I'd be looking for short opportunities. Or if we break below this level and we see some kind of bounce and we can short from there, I would definitely take that one as well. So let's move on to the last couple of coins here, BNB. BNB, I do think we'll probably see a short-term bounce from the 21 exponential here. Again, at the very least back up to the 10 exponential, 10 simple, excuse me. That does line up with our previous little level of structure right there. So do we see, there we go, there's the level. Do we see that today? Most likely. Stokes looking a little bit bearish, pointing to the south. Definitely going to be looking for this one to make its way lower. Rejected out of the bullish control zone on the RSI. Yep, this one does look to me like it does want to make its way back down to 195, around that level. Let's look at the 4-hour chart, see if we can get filled perhaps on a short position here. I would actually like to get short here on BNB if we do get an opportunity today. It would look something like that, short around this 250 spot $75 area, and we can easily target these lows back down here, or even as low as 204, 196, somewhere around that liquidity zone right there. So BNB looking a little bit more bearish here shorter term. Stokes getting into that critical zone. Do we see a short-term bounce? I do believe so. Do we then see an opportunity to short? I do believe so. So keep an eye on the channel today, the Telegram channel. Most likely going to be taking some market shorts if we do get those opportunities, or maybe just get filled on our limit orders, which would be freaking fantastic because we have now been starting the last 3 weeks in a loss, and then we have to trade ourselves out of that loss. So if we can start, well, we already started this week in another loss, but if we can start making some of that money back before the end of the week, that would be fantastic. Last week was an extremely slow week for crypto, kind of just been moving around, as you can see, sideways. So when we made all of that gains throughout February, we were seeing trending markets and we were seeing a lot of volatility and volume and movement. So at the moment, we're not seeing a lot of that. So we're sticking to the lower term time frames, trying to catch as many of those day trades and swing trades as we can. But we're definitely not looking to play longer term swings yet. So daily chart, I do think we'll see perhaps a short term bounce. Does it get sold straight back into? I do think so. And then we can look for an extension back down to 196. Let's chat about 1 inch. Momentum oscillators, not looking too good, not looking too bad. I don't really have a strong opinion on this one. Doesn't have that much price data to work off of. But on the daily, I do think we're bouncing on the 55. Yes, we have been once. So 1 inch, I'm not really going to put any opinion on this one. I don't feel confident about this one this morning. It's kind of neutral for me. I don't see anything significant. I mean, if we go down to the lower term time frames, perhaps we'll see something. Not really, it's just ranging between this level right here and this level right here. So we've just basically been consolidating and going, squeezing almost into a little tunnel here. So do we see a breakout soon? I do think so. We saw some volume on this buying candle, this bullish candle right here. That was sold straight back into this. Like I said earlier, I think any kind of short-term bounces today will be sold straight back into. So perhaps this one is leading the market. Perhaps this one already saw a bounce out of the critical zone. There we go. A rejection out of the bearish control zone and then being sold straight back into. So that's very possible. But like I said, I don't really have a strong opinion on this one. Any kind of break below this liquid zone right here, around $3.54, I'd be interested in perhaps taking a short. And any kind of 4-hour candle close above, let's call it $4.54, I'd be looking to go long. That's it for today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful week as well. Remember to trade safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers for now. Bye bye.